Hi, listeners. Howard and I continue our conversation about law firm management topics, and today we discussed a structured strategy approach to growth. Enjoy. Welcome back, Howard. And everyone, Howard's going to be a permanent part of The Future is Bright as we continue to explore ways to co-host and talk about subjects that matter to the management teams of corporate law firms, both in the United States and outside the United States. This episode, we're going to be discussing this concept of growth through acquisition, but a structured strategy approach. And so, Howard, do you have any initial thoughts as we jump into this?
Yeah, look, it's a really interesting topic. A lot of law firm leaders that I'm in contact with, this is like their central challenge to chart a path of sustained growth. And the question is, where do they do it? Which practice areas get the investment, and which people in those practice areas get the priority for either acquisitions or just time and attention? Because one thing can't be done in isolation with understanding the rest of the firm. So it's a really complex equation, but it's the route map for growth.
And, there's this reality that you and I have seen in the partner recruiting industry where management teams, to many people, recruiters benefit, place partners that very likely would be distractions to firms. And so what we're going to be chatting about for the next several minutes is just this idea of, frankly, it's strategy. It's this idea of knowing what to say no to and knowing what to say yes to. And this approach that is very structured, it's very intentional, and it's avoiding the shiny objects that pulls away from firms truly accomplishing their strategic goals.
And as you know, running a law firm, you're dealing with a lot of distractions. Things change on a daily basis. Clients come and go. You're dealing with personnel issues and priorities. And so having a structured approach is not easy to do. It's a totally different mindset, and it's not short-term benefits as well. So it's a real discipline to think about this from a data and intelligence, using data and intelligence to make those informed decisions as you're working through the problem about where should we place our bets for the future direction of the business? What aligns our people with the client base that we want in 2 years' time? What kind of transactions do we want to be involved with? That gets into branding and positioning of the law firm, but I think those are hard decisions to take, and the only way I know how to do that is using it, maximizing the intelligence and the data, hopefully to give you hints and clues about those strategic moves to make as a business owner.
Howard, what have you seen with clients that are creating these plans? How long do they last? How many years?
I think when I came into the business, I think there was always the vision of give me the 5-year plan.
All right.
I have not
Yeah.
seen a 5-year plan in the last 10 years of working in this industry. I think at best, if you can get an 18-month plan that's codified, you're doing really well. You're ahead of the pack. And I think that's the challenge, is that I still meet a large number of law firm leaders who have a really good grasp of the business and a feel for the business, but communicating that to their colleagues and their partners and other team members, if it's not codified, you do not have a plan.
Yeah.
And that's a real discipline in itself. And
Yeah.
I'm not talking about a 700-page document that's got everything kind of buttoned down, just in terms of like, these are our markets, these are our priorities, this is our timeline, these are the kinds of people that we need to attract in the business,
Yep.
and setting that in motion. If you're doing that, you're doing really well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would just want to echo what you're saying, that there needs to be real definition. There needs to be parameters. There needs to be economic parameters, knowing what you are and what you're not, knowing what you're not going to settle for, but also knowing what level you realistically stand in when it comes to brand positioning and bill rate premium or where you are in the market. Are you middle market? Are you premium market? Are you extra premium, which are the various levels in the legal industry? Um, and what is truly strategic? Um, so just two comments. I've actually seen firms do create 3 to 5 year plans, and I've seen them execute. I've seen them be semi-flexible. Sometimes they execute them sooner. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but they have a hard deadline and they drive it. And I'm personally assisting a couple firms with that sort of plan that have you mentioned codify. It's the buy-in. It's the full agreement from not just the EC, but throughout the practice leaders, where one plan, one page, we're going for it together as a firm. This is our goal.
I think that's right. And I think the challenge is to clearly define what success is, regardless of the
Right.
time frame. And that's again, outlining the vision of where we want to go to, and then hopefully bringing the other parts of the business and the people with that, right? And so if you don't paint a vision of where you want to go, it's hard to get people mobilized to do that, to execute on that plan.
Yeah.
I've seen that being a challenge for many law firms.
So, I mean, in the age of consolidation we're in right now, firms are announcing constantly. I just saw an announcement of a firm expanding in California. Um, it's imperative for firms to grow. They're human capital asset companies, and the game for corporate law firms, and frankly, is leverage. It's more bodies times a rate equals more revenue. That gives you more freedom and flexibility to invest in your people, and to invest in technology, in the systems, and frankly, the non-legal management that continues to move the firm forward, and to let the attorneys do what they do best. Deeper benches means better work from clients and higher rates. And so there's everything about this is really has to be from a structured standpoint. I 100% agree. And from a location standpoint, some firms very much look at markets from a strategy of we got to be in only the top cities in the country. Other firms I've spoken with actually have a strategy of avoiding those markets to some degree and focus on lower cost markets where they're tapping the best talent with the largest, best economics, and are incredibly profitable doing that. And so, but they have a plan. They're not shiny object approach it. And, what's the term I was thinking of? They're not shooting from the hip. And they're not hoping for the best. That ship has sailed, as you put it before.
Yeah, I think the most successful managing partners that I'm in contact with seem to realize they're in the talent business. That it's a talent asset business, and the talent walks out the door every day and comes back in the morning. And I think you cannot grow without having the best people and the best seats within a law firm. And that changes your perspective about how you kind of go for growth. And some people are wired to do that. Other people, it's kind of a foreign language. But to put the growth numbers on the board that managing partners are tasked to do, you cannot do that with clearly understanding the people and the mobility of the talent.
So, some things that tend to take management off their eye off the ball. There can be things. So, we were talking ahead of time, just where material events and disruptions can happen. Turnover can affect that when you lose your most critical asset, your people. I think one thing, and I wonder if this is even before getting a plan, is frankly having leaders in seats that don't have the energy and don't have the vision and don't want to put the effort, because it takes a lot of effort to say no to shiny objects, and to really think 3 to 5 years out or 2 years out and stay focused and know what to say yes to and what to say no to. Um,
I never understood, with being working in some of these large law firms, I never understood how you could be successful doing that as a managing partner or as a law firm leader and still fee earn at the same time. Juggling fee earning and running a firm, managing people, going for growth, interviewing interesting candidates that would be transformational. I don't know how you do all that and still fee earn as a in the business.
There's a trade-off. There's someone's trading something when that's taking place. Um, and or I have clients that do it, and some of it has to do with size, frankly. The smaller firms, it's harder to
Yeah.
dedicate time. Everyone's got to be rowing the same way and have to be contributing to the bottom line. And so, again, it goes back to this fun topic: is size matters. You have more resources, more flexibility, allow your leaders to be their leaders. I think it's hard.
Yeah, and so well, size gives you more opportunity for client opportunities and doing more challenging work at higher rates. So you're kind of more diversified. So it's a never-ending cycle if you can kind of get into that rhythm. But it's hard. It's challenging. It's not easy.
It is. It is. Um, Howard, what are things that maybe some of our leaders, I mean, they've heard a lot from us today already, but what are maybe some takeaways as we wrap up this episode to think about doing a structured strategy approach to talent and growth?
I think you have to have the mindset for there's growth is like, what does that mean? I still come back to the definition of growth. It may not be purely revenue growth. It may be doing more interesting work or more sustained work that has less pricing variability, increasing your rates, maybe. Again, there has to be, every firm has to take this kind of decision for themselves. It's not a cookie cutter approach. And so, it's hard. That's hard to do. Like, where do you begin and where do you end? But I think you have to really think about the people. I still come back to that. This industry is a people-oriented business. It
Yeah,
always has been. It always probably will be. And you have to motivate people to do the best work that they can. And I think that's kind of an open book that changes on a daily basis, right?
it does. It does. And making sure the media doesn't dictate, what that means either. Um, we could have a whole conversation about ALM and the numbers they produce.
You can indeed.
Well, that wraps it up. I hope folks had some takeaways from this episode and understanding how we think and we find the importance of looking at growth is from a data-driven approach, and as it relates to talent, to be more structured. And that strategy is really about what you say no to. Uh, and when you're focused and you have a plan and you really know who you are and what you want to accomplish with many different data points, data wins.